All right, today we're going to install the 30-inch light bar on our 2022 Ram TRX. We've been selling this kit for a while. Sorry about the lighting. We've been selling this kit for a while for the 5th gen Ram trucks, Laramie's, Bighorns, Limiteds, Rebels. We've had customers that have installed them on the TRX. The TRX install is slightly more involved in that you have to pull off the front bumper. Some people with their 5th gen Rams do pull off the front bumper, but it's not completely necessary to. But that light bar is going to sit right in here, back behind this little grill in the lower bumper. So we're a Diode Dynamics dealer. We're installing a 30-inch Diode Dynamics light bar. We're going with the amber one in this one. And we have the combo lens on ours. So when you get your package, these brackets were pulled off of another truck. So I'm just repurposing these ones for ours. But in your package, you will get 2 brackets. They will have a sticker labeled driver side and passenger side. And then you're going to get a set of stainless steel hardware. So we will go over the install here in just a second. All right, I'm going to go over the tools used to install the 30-inch light bar on the 2022 Ram TRX. This would be the same for the 2021 Ram TRX as well. So first thing, you'll see the Sawzall on the far right. Use that with just a metal cutting blade because that's what I use the most, and that's what was on there. That was just to cut a little center support piece of plastic out of the little air dam that sits in the lower grill on the Ram TRX. That has to be cut out, or at least a little section of it has to be cut out to make room for the light bar. Otherwise the light bar wouldn't fit in there. The next thing I'll go over, 19mm wrench, 19mm flex head ratchet wrench. The 19mm flex head ratchet wrench for the top inside bolts that hold the bumper on, those 19mm, those are kind of a pain to get to. That 19mm flex head ratchet wrench makes life a lot easier. And actually the standard 19mm combo wrench, all I did was use that to get a little extra leverage on my ratchet wrench. Next is the 13mm flex head ratchet wrench, then a 13mm combo wrench, a couple of 3/8 drive extensions in a couple different lengths. We've got 3/8 drive sockets here, 19mm, 15mm, 16mm flex, like flexible socket or wobble socket. That wasn't necessary, it's just what I grabbed. You could use a 16mm deep or shallow. That was just to remove the skid plate. 13mm flex head socket, 10mm flex head socket, and then universal extension, impact extension. T40 Torx. A lot of that stuff was used for pulling the little bumper support off of the bumper once the bumper's removed. 10mm 1/4-inch drive deep socket, 8mm 1/4-inch drive deep socket. Those were used for the wiring portion and also to remove the inner fender wells. And then 1/4-inch drive flex head ratchet. Again, doesn't have to be flex head. That's just what I grabbed. 1/4-inch drive air ratchet. That was just to make it faster, so I wasn't ratcheting stuff all day. 3/8 drive ratchet, flathead screwdriver. My 3/8 drive M18 Milwaukee. A 4mm hex key or Allen wrench, as some people call them. Some solder, electrical tape, some various electrical pliers, some crimpers, a lighter for the heat shrink that I used, and the soldering iron. So those were actually all of the tools that I used for this install. Wasn't too bad. Took me about 3 hours and 20 minutes from the time I started to the time I finished, and it was about 15 minutes I was on the phone. I was filming, during it, and I was also handling some other business stuff as well. So I think had I been able to focus on it and not trying to figure it out, being the first TRX install that I've done, I think I probably could have gotten it done substantially faster. But I would say for the average person, plan somewhere between 3 and 4 hours to get the job done. And again, for some people you could go a lot faster, but you can see right here I installed the amber bar on mine, and it just sits in that lower grill right there. Puts out pretty good light. I'll get some videos and stuff of that here pretty soon. And then there's Belle. She was my helper today. Can I say hi, Belle? All right, let us know if you have any questions. All right, to pull the bumper off, the first thing that you've got to do on the TRX is you've got to remove these 3 bolts right here, and then you have to loosen those 2 right there, and then this little inner piece of the inner fender well will slip right out. That's going to allow you access to the wiring harness and the nuts. So we'll go ahead and take those 3 bolts out, loosen those 2, and get this piece out on both sides, and then we will be right back after that. All right, before we pull the rest of the bolts out for the bumper, to get the bumper off, we got to pull this lower skid plate off. It's got some 16mm bolts, so we'll get those pulled out and get this lower portion of the skid plate pulled off. All right, now that that inner piece is off, you can see that there is this wire connector right here that needs to get taken off. And then if you look back there, there is 3 nuts that need to get taken off. So we'll go ahead and get that done on both sides, and then we'll be back again. Here's a quick note. Let me get in here. For this bolt back here, the best option that I found for that one, it's really hard to get to, is a flexible head 19mm ratcheting wrench. Makes it much easier to get that one out. So just a little tip, that one's a little bit tough to get to on the ground, so maybe easier on a lift or something if you have access to that. I'm doing this one on the ground just to show you all that it can be done in your garage. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it in my garage. So flex head 19mm for that one, definitely helpful. Hamba, are you a good girl? All right, front bumper's taken off. It's not too bad. It's actually pretty easy to take off. Just that one bolt's a little bit difficult to get to, but here it is. We're going to put our 30-inch light bar. It's going to sit inside here. So we'll get going on that. All right, I've actually done a decent amount and kind of forgot to film, so I'm going to walk over what I've done so far. So I removed all of these bolts. There's several of them. You're going to have to, well, here's the pile of bolts down here. You got to pop this little piece loose. There's, I believe they were T40s. I'll double check. At the very end, I'll go over a list of all the tools I used. So there were some T40s and stuff. That gets this whole piece loose. Allows you to pull this plastic piece out. I believe they call it a shutter assembly. I'm going to trim a little bit more, but the only trimming that I've had to do is this right here. There are, as you can see right there, there's one in the center and then one on each side, some other fends, and it looks like I'm not going to have to do any trimming on those. It looks like that's going to be about a perfect spot for a standoff from the parking sensors, because this does overlap the parking sensors a little bit. So right now I'm just working on getting these centered up. I'm gonna get these bolts in. I'm gonna button all of this stuff up, and then I think I'm gonna flip it over and pull that front piece off and get these screws down here tight and last, because it's really tight in there, even with the bumper off, to get to those screws to get those tightened up for this light bar. So, but there it is. You can see the light bar's in there. Sits in there nice and tight. It's looking really good. So I'm just gonna center these here and then get these bolts in. I'm gonna button all of this other stuff up underneath here, and then I'll flip it over and get those other bolts tightened, and then at that point we should be able to put our bumper back on and get wiring up. Alright guys, there it is, 30-inch light bar installed.